Hi guys, welcome back to our little cottage here on the river in the far north of Idaho. So if you watched my last video, then you saw me cooking with some winter vegetables and heard me talk a tiny bit about how I am working on eating seasonally. And so that means picking vegetables that are in season. And so one of the ways that I found to do that is we have a local farm here that's close to us, and they do a CSA program. And that is where you can basically purchase a share during whatever season, and you will get a box of vegetables. Well, their winter CSA was already sold out, but they did have an online shop each week where you can purchase individual things as they are available. So I decided to go ahead and do that this winter, and I have it marked on my calendar when you can start signing up for their summer CSA, which is in February. So I'm probably going to do that. But let me show you what I purchased from them this week, and I'll kind of let you share like what exactly I am going to do with them. So the first thing I want to share is the Delicata squash. And I actually had never eaten Delicata squash until this winter. And I have to say it is now my absolute favorite squash, and I don't know why I have not had it before now. So it is just really, well, as the name says, delicate. It's very delicate squash, and the skin is very delicate. So you do not have to peel off the skin before eating it. You can actually cook it and eat the skin. And so I am going to actually roast this. I put it in a casserole a couple nights ago, and it was really good. And so I have seen a lot of people roasting it, and so I'm going to try that here in this video in a little bit. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And so you'll see me preparing this here in a little bit coming up in this video. And like I said, I'm just going to do a simple roasting it in the oven. And then the next thing I got were a couple bunches of these stir fry, and now I can't remember the name. I will look it up and put it down in the description box below. But they're along the same lines as like a bok choy or a baby bok choy. And the way they described them on the website is they're really good for stir fry. And so this morning I made a breakfast stir fry with this vegetable and some red onion. And then I also used some all-natural chicken sausage that I got at Costco and just whipped up a quick, easy, delicious breakfast stir fry. And so let me show you how I made it. And so these are very, very good. And they're very tender. Once they were cooked, still very tender. They have a very mild flavor, but yet you can still, I feel like bok choy, like baby bok choy, can not have as much flavor. It's still good. I love baby bok choy, but this, it's like you can taste it a little bit more than the baby bok choy, and it just has a very tender crunch to it, and it's really delightful. So like I said, I'll put the name of this below here and then also in the description box. But they had this at this farm, and I thought I'd try it, and it is absolutely delicious. So as long as they have this, I'm going to keep getting it. I think it would taste really great in soups, and I don't know, I might even try roasting it at some point, like on a sheet pan meal. We'll see. But I'll keep experimenting with it and see what I can come up with. And then the other thing is just some onions. I got some yellow onions and some red onions, and I think they come like a pound. You get a pound. You can order per pound, and so I got a pound of yellow onions and red onions. And then I also got some potatoes, a little paper bag of just Yukon Gold potatoes, and they look great. They're very small, so they're very little potatoes, but these will be delicious. And I think this was just, I think they said it was 2 pounds. So one order of the potatoes is 2 pounds. So I got 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, and then I got some carrots, 2 bundles of carrots. And these are absolutely delicious. One of my favorite things when I have my garden is growing carrots, because there's something about eating a carrot fresh out of the ground that you realize, wow, these actually taste like carrots. And so, and they're really not that hard to grow. But anyway, they had carrots, and so I grabbed a couple bundles of carrots, and these we'll just use in soup. You can roast them with chicken, whatever meat you're gonna roast. They're great for when you're making chicken stock or vegetable stock. There's so many things you can do with those. Even adding them to a stir fry is great. And then also, I got 2 bundles of leeks. These beautiful leeks. I actually already cooked some of the leeks, so but I got 2 bundles of these, and I absolutely love leeks. Last night with our dinner, we barbecued up some chicken, and I had a bulb of fennel left over from the store, and then I took some of these leeks and I just I chopped them up and threw the fennel and the leeks in a frying pan with some butter and a little bit of oil, and just simple sauteed them up till they were tender, and put that alongside our chicken, and it was absolutely delicious. So there's what I got from our little local farm here. And yeah, so I will let you know as I keep each week as I order more vegetables, and I will keep sharing with you what I'm doing with them, so that hopefully you can find some new ideas for how you can cook up winter vegetables. So yeah, it's really fun. And I just feel like when you can, I know not everyone has a local farm or CSA that they can get their vegetables from, but even just getting them from the store is great. But when you can figure out what to do with the vegetables, you're more likely to eat them. So anyway, I'm having fun. Like I said, I'm having fun experimenting. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you guys a very simple recipe for roasted chicken. And of course, you're going to need a whole chicken for this. And the size of the chicken doesn't really matter, because you're going to be checking if it's done based on the internal temperature, not on the cooking time. So you'll want to make sure that you do have a good meat thermometer for this. So this is it's kind of a smaller chicken. I want to say I don't even know how much it weighs, maybe 5-6 pounds. And then you're also going to need a stalk of celery, 1 carrot, and 1 lemon, an onion, and then I have these sprigs of rosemary that I got off of the bush that's growing in a pot on my deck. And thankfully it is still alive and it's still growing. We have had a very mild winter, which is kind of strange here in North Idaho. And we've had some snow, but not as much as we usually have. And the temperatures have just been very relatively mild for this area. And so my rosemary plant is still doing great. So I'm actually very happy about that. I'm wondering what will happen when we do get more of a cold snap. I'm hoping it'll still survive. But anyway, for right now, it is still surviving. So I have 2 sprigs of rosemary. Then you're also going to need 4 little pads of butter, and I use salted butter for this. And then you're going to need your basic yellow mustard. So you can definitely use a fancy Dijon mustard if you would like, but I just use a basic yellow mustard and it works great. You would also want to have maybe 2 cloves of garlic finely minced. I am out of garlic and I went to the store yesterday and totally forgot to grab some. So you will also want to have a couple cloves of garlic that you will finely mince up, and you would actually mix with the mustard, which when I get to that step, I'll talk you through that even though I don't have the garlic. Okay, so I am also going to roast it in my large cast iron skillet. I do a lot of the stuff that I roast in cast iron because I absolutely love it. So I'm going to use my large cast iron skillet for this. So let me get the chicken into the skillet and then I will walk you through the rest of the recipe. Okay, and I also forgot to mention the 4 potatoes that I have here. I have just a couple of small Yukon Gold potatoes, and you can do really as many potatoes as you need for this, like as many people are going to be eating them. We don't eat a lot of potatoes, so that's why I'm only going to do the 4 small potatoes. So just pick the amount of potatoes based on the amount of people who are going to be eating. And also you can use whatever potato that you like, whatever. You can use red potatoes, whichever one that you prefer. So I'm going to get this chicken into the cast iron, and I rinsed the chicken and patted it dry so it's nice and dry. And then the first thing I'm going to do is tuck the wings under, and then I'm going to put the butter under the skin of the chicken. So I'm going to take these little pads of butter, and sometimes you have to like break a little membrane that's here, and I get my finger up in there, and then I just take the pad of butter and just kind of smush it up in there. Nothing fancy. And then I'm going to do that on this side. So I'm going to take the next pad of butter and get it up on this chicken breast on that side. And then I'm going to put one on each of the legs. So you kind of have to get in there and break a membrane to get to that bit of chicken leg. And then I stick that pad of butter up in there under the skin. And you could do 2 pads of butter on the breast if you wanted to. It's just whatever you prefer. But this will get all melty and melt down over the chicken. And so this really is just for like adding a little bit of flavor and moisture to the roasting chicken. Okay, so now we've got the butter under the skin. Let me wash my hands real quick and we'll continue. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just roughly, I don't really need to chop this onion up. But depending on the size of the chicken, you might want to just use half of the onion because you are going to be putting the celery and the carrot and some lemon inside the chicken as well. So just based on your size of your chicken will determine how much you use of each ingredient. So I'm actually just going to start with half the onion in there first. I don't think I'm going to need the whole onion. And then I'm going to take the carrot, and this is kind of a bigger carrot, so I'm not sure if I'm going to stick the whole thing or I probably am just going to cut this in half like this and stick that in there. And these really are just to kind of fragrance the meat, I would say. And it does add a little bit of flavor, but it'll flavor the juices of the meat, which is always really nice. And I got my stalk of celery that I'm going to stick in here somewhere, wherever it'll fit. There we go. And then I'm also going to do the same with the rosemary. So I'm just going to take the rosemary and just kind of stick it in where it will go. And I think, oh yeah, I can do two. So just stick that in there. Okay. Okay, so this is the point where I would be mincing the garlic cloves and mixing them with the mustard. And obviously, I don't have the garlic cloves. So just pretend that I have minced a couple garlic cloves and put them in this little dish. And I'm just going to do about 2 tablespoons or so of the mustard. And then I'm going to put a little bit of oil in there. So I'm just going to use some avocado oil, just about a tablespoon or so. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt, because this is going to season the outside of the chicken. So maybe a teaspoon or so of salt. And then I'm going to do some pepper. And then we're just going to mix this up. Just mix this up as best as it will go. And like I said, there would typically be a couple of minced garlic cloves in here. Now, let me clear all this away here real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to take the mustard mixture and smear it all over the chicken. And I'm just going to use my hands for this. And I might not even use all of this because this is a smaller chicken. Get some inside the cavity a little bit. Just get this really good and coated with the mustard mixture. I'm really bummed I don't have the garlic. I really wish I had the garlic because the garlic makes it so good. I'm sure it's going to taste great even without it, but don't forget the garlic when you make this. Okay, and this recipe will be up on my blog, homespunannie.com, and yeah, I'll have it linked in the description box below. All right, so there was about that much mustard left. I don't think I want to put any more on there. So yeah, so just add as much based on the size of your chicken. All right, so now here's where the lemon is going to come in. And I am just going to quarter this lemon and just squeeze some of the juice over the chicken. I'm just going to do half of this lemon. So I really only needed half of, I don't know. It all depends. Like I tend to cook and I tend to just kind of wing it sometimes. So yeah, I think I'm just going to do half of the lemon. So I'll save these other halves for something else, and just get the leftover slices, just kind of stuff them in the chicken. Okay, and then now for the potatoes. So I want to make sure that these are going to cook completely. So I'm going to cut these into, about 1-inch pieces. And I don't remember if I said before, but I had my oven preheating to 375 degrees. So you want to have your oven preheated to 375. And this one has a little spot on it. Just going to cut that off. Okay, now I'm going to take the potato and just scatter it around the chicken. And the potato is going to cook in the juices of the chicken. A little bit of that butter will come out as well and cook with the potatoes. And so you'll have a really delicious pan sauce as well. You can make a pan sauce with the juices that just really flavor the potatoes really well. So there we have it. This is ready to go into the oven, and I'm going to let it cook for maybe about 30 minutes before I even think about checking it, because really this is probably going to take about 40-45 minutes. But I'm just going to check it at 30 just to see how it's doing. So let's throw this in the oven. Okay, so now I'm also going to roast up some delicata squash to go with our chicken. And as I mentioned earlier, what's great, well, one of the great things about this squash is that the skin is so delicate that you do not have to peel them. So that makes it very easy for roasting. And so I'm just going to cut off the ends here and cut it in half lengthwise. And the inside, of course, looks very much like a squash, like a pumpkin. The seeds look like little pumpkin seeds. And so I'm going to scrape out the insides. And I will save these for the chickens because the chickens will love this. And so I'm just going to scrape the seeds out and the stringy parts. And it does take a tiny bit of elbow grease to get all the stringy bits out. It's nice just to use a little spoon. It's easy to scrape the harder parts, the more stubborn parts that don't want to come off. Okay, I think that is pretty good. So there's one half done, nice and cleaned out. I'm going to slice this into thin slices, but first let me scrape out the other side and get it cleaned up. And you could definitely save these seeds if you wanted, like you would pumpkin seeds. It'd be kind of fun to experiment and roast them like you would pumpkin seeds. I'm not going to, I'm just going to give them to the chickens, but it'd be a fun experiment to try that for sure. So like I said, you kind of have to use the spoon a little bit to kind of scrape. Some of the insides out. Okay, so now these are cleaned up. I'm just going to slice them into maybe about 1/2 inch slices or so. You could really do this however thick you wanted. But you'll get them cut into these little half-inch slices, half moon shape slices. Okay, now I have a cookie sheet here lined with parchment. And I am going to lay these out on the cookie sheet. And the parchment is just going to keep them from sticking to the cookie sheet because you really don't want them to stick. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just get them kind of evenly spaced like that, something like that. And then I'm going to take some avocado oil. And you could use olive oil if you wanted, coconut oil. I just really like avocado oil. And just a little drizzle. And then I will rub these. I'll make sure the oil covers all of them. So there we go. And then I'm also going to grab some more salt. And do just a light little sprinkle of salt and some pepper. And then I'm just going to kind of use my hands and make sure that they are all nice and coated with the oil and the salt and pepper. And these are going to go into a preheated 375-degree oven. I have the chicken roasting in there, so these are just going to roast with the chicken. And I'm going to check them in about 15 minutes. These should cook fairly quickly. So in 15 minutes, I will check them. They are done when you pierce them with a sharp knife, and it just is very tender and goes right in. So let me get these in the oven. So as I mentioned before, the full recipe for this roast chicken is up on my blog at homespunannie.com, and I will also have it linked in the description box below. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, share with someone else you think would enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.